Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, and I have for you today 4 alternative cards to this month's Paper Pumpkin kit, which is called The Best There Is. And 2 of them are completely different from the cards that are in the kit, and the other 2 are ways that I wanted to show you to make very similar cards to what's in the kit if you need more of them. Because as we all know, masculine cards sometimes are hard to come by, and so this is a way to get a lot more out of your kit with a few coordinating products. I hope you like my alternatives. Let's get started. So here is this month's kit called The Best There Is, and it comes with a Misty Moonlight Stampin' Spot. So we will be using Misty Moonlight for many of the cards, but not all of them. I also use some early Espresso, but I really think you could kind of change it up and pick and choose. These are the cards that you would make if you wanted to make them as they came in the kit. And one of the things I wanted to do as one of my goals for this kit was to kind of show you how you could use some of these, some coordinating products actually, to make even more. Not so much this card. We're going to make 6 of this, I've created an alternative and we're going to make 6 of those cards instead of just 3. But for these, you can make an unlimited number, and I have actually a 4th card that you can also make an unlimited number of them with just a little bit of variation and a little bit of extra product. So that's my goal. That was my goal, to kind of case some of these cards and figure out how to make more of them, because we know that masculine cards are kind of always needed for most of us, and this way you'll have a great big stack on hand and you can always make more. Remember to double check that you have everything that comes with the kit. And I love this, the insert that I'm now creating a little booklet for all of the stamp sets. And I may even use this half to stamp some old ones so that I can keep even those on file. And then the add-on dies, we are going to be using those today because we are going to use this. And actually you can, I didn't actually use the thanks on a card, but I'm going to show you how you can. So you will see that. All right, let's get started. Here is the first card that I did, and this is the one that, like I said, is not a case of what comes in the kit. So I wanted to do something to make the paper go a little bit farther, and so this is what I came up with. So I started with a basic white card base. And I cut a piece of Misty Moonlight the same size as the card front, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Let's make sure that's gonna fit. And then we're gonna put it on with some multi-purpose liquid glue. And then for the next layer, I cut apart one of the cards. So the front and back of the card are the same. So I like it because it adds a little bit of texture. It's got just a little subtle design on there. And I cut it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, so you get 2 from a card base, and that's how you can make 6 cards. So I'm going to flip the card this way and then put that on the back with some seal. Just center it on there. And then for the piece that comes with the kit, it looks like this. And I got 2 out of this by just cutting. And I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera, but just to show you, I just cut along those lines as best I could, back and forth, and all the way to the other end. And so then what you end up with is this one, and then the companion to it, which I'm going to flip around and use on this card. So again, I'm going to grab some seal. And place it up at the top. And now the sentiment label, I use that die from the Thanks and Beyond dies, and I cut one in Pool Party, and that's going to go right here, and it's a pretty tight fit. So this one may be down a little bit, and that's fine. You know, I'm fine with that. So here's where I thought I might use the thanks die though. Instead of stamping, you could use and make a nice thank you card. So maybe I will do that on this one. But all I did was just stamp "You're the best there is." And actually on the inside, I think I did Happy Father's Day. So I will probably do You're the Best There Is on the inside for this one, because I don't need that many Father's Day cards. So that was the other thing too, was to make cards that were not necessarily for Father's Day, because you may not need that many, but birthday cards, thank you cards, those things of course are always needed. So I put an adhesive sheet on the back before I ran this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I've got some good adhesive on the back. I think I'm going to leave that be. And it does tend to kind of move around, so you want to center it as best you can. I think I am going to leave it on here though. It's going to be sticky. And center it. It's going to have to go about like that. So I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out. Whoops. Straightening as I go here. And let's see, that's a little bit crooked. That looks pretty good on the first half, so we'll just adjust a little bit. Bring that down. So it is nice that you can play with it too. That looks a little better. And once you're happy with it, burnish it. You can see there was that little bump there. I just burnished it, it's gone. And then this is going to go here, but first I'm going to wrap some twine. So I just used the Baker's Twine Essentials pack, and this is the crumb cake. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some of those wonderful large glue dots that come with the kit. Or I don't know, these may be from, yeah, I think these are from this month's kit. I have a stack of them that tend to, let's see, and where's the bottom is here, that I tend to accumulate from the kits because I use the glue dots on the roll most of the time. So I'm just going to put some of these along the bottom and the back and take the paper off, and then we're going to wrap the twine. So I'm just going to start at one end here and wrap it around a few times, making sure that it catches, at least for the beginning, on the glue dots. And you can play with it a little bit to get it positioned where you want it, but I'm going to do it this way this time and give that a snip. And then I did not bump this up with glue dots, but I can see, or with dimensionals, but I can see it's coming up here. So I think this time I am going to do that. I think that's a good idea. And I like it because you can overlap the dimensionals to help hold down the twine. So that's always a nice little advantage. Just one extra adhesive there to keep it in place. And then I'm going to take the paper off. And then I'm going to put it right here at the bottom of the card. So I think this time I'll overlap it for here, since this paper was up just a little bit higher, but I don't think it matters. And then for the tools, all I did was stamp them on a scrap of basic white and cut them out with my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And these come from the Trusty Tools stamp set and dies. So I've already done the hammer and the wrench, but I'm going to show you how I did all of them by doing the paintbrush. So I've got the stamp, and then I've got my Memento black ink pad, and that's what we're going to use for the outline. And then it's got a couple of filler stamps, so we're going to use those as well. And then we're going to do the handle, and for that I'm going to use crumb cake. Some good ink on there. And we're just going to lay it over. And then last but not least, we've just got the little bit of paint, so we're going to use Pool Party for that. And then it goes like this. And then you line it up. And so there's our paint on the bottom that coordinates then. And I'm gonna cut this out with my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and be right back. I've cut that out. And a little tip, because I did do it on this, I did it on the paintbrush actually. If you get a spot like down here that's kind of a little more white than you would like, and even the side of the hammer, because maybe you didn't center the die exactly, guess what? You can just trim it a little closer. And then you're good to go. I think I'll do the same thing on this. Instead of restamping, sometimes I've done that if it's really way off, but if it's not, you can get away with a little trim. And so for these other tools, I did the same thing that I did for the paintbrush, stamping first in Memento black, and there's a filler stamp for this, for the handle. It looks like this, and I did that also in the crumb cake. And then I wanted to do these in silver, so my first attempt was to try to stamp the Memento black on our new silver designer series paper, and it's too slippery. That is not the right ink for that paper. It's too shiny and slippery. I even tried drying it with my heat tool and it just didn't work. It's still smeared. So probably it would work if you use StazOn ink. However, that is going to ruin your photopolymer stamps because they're not meant for that. So plan B was I took my light Smoky Slate marker and I just colored those in. And so that's all I did differently on these two as opposed to this. And then just layered them on the card with my Stampin' Seal. We'll put some down here and slide it here. And this is a nice thank you card if somebody has helped you with a project. And you can see from the back of my basic white, I had something else stamped on there. So I try to reuse everything I can. And as you can see, even though that's really dark and colorful, nobody will know. Oops, we got a little extra piece there. And then last but not least, the wrench, which came from that same, that same paper. And so there you have it. I just layered these two differently, but you can decide which one you like best. And then, like I said, for the inside, we do have a little more stamping. Oops. Got a little bit of glue in the corner there, which sometimes happens. And I'm going to take that You're the Best There Is and my Misty Moonlight, and we're going to stamp that on the inside. And for this, you want to make sure you get good ink because that word best is very thick. And so you want to make sure you have good coverage. Press it down there so the ink gets on the card. And then on the inside, oh, I didn't do it on this one, but I was going to stamp a tool. So I think I am going to do that. And I'm going to use the paintbrush again because I don't have to color it in. So I'm going to switch this out, bring my Memento black back in. Ink it up, and we'll stamp it in the same general area down here. And then we'll bring in the filler and the crumb cake. Make sure it has good ink on it. The closer you get, you can kind of see that it's lined up pretty well. And then last but not least, the pool party. And we're going to turn it around the correct way. So as I said, the closer you get to the actual stamped image, you can see how well it's lined up. So that's pretty good. It's off a little bit, but that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. And that is card number 1. And I'm going to show you what I used. The Trusty Tools stamp set that also has a thank you, also has Happy Father's Day. You're the most awesome would definitely fit with some of the sentiments that come with this kit. Or you could put Dad. Dad would fit nicely in there, I believe. I can just pull out the stamp and see. Yes, that would fit if you wanted to do Dad on the front and you had that set. So for this one, really the Trusty Tools stamp set and dies would really work nicely as add-ons. I I had the card just without the tools and I felt that it was kind of plain, but you could even do that. It's just a little bit of a simpler card, which is fine as well. And like I said, you could use it for different sentiments. So that is card number one. I would probably also stamp one of the tools on the front of the envelope, which I didn't do. This is card number two. And for this one, I wanted to use the trees more than what came with the kit. So again, you could make an unlimited number of cards. So this is a card that, again, I designed that doesn't necessarily come as a case of the kit. The last couple are more like that. But my thought was, I love those trees, and there are only 3 of these that come with the kit, but our Stylish Shapes dies are almost exactly the same size as the circle, and then the trees come with the kit. So you can make many more if you have, oh, and the paper. Let me talk about the paper too. That is called Country Woods, and it's new designer series paper in the catalog. It coordinates beautifully with this whole kit. So that's what I did. I started off using, this is actually half of a card base because I did it on vanilla. But if you run out of them and you need to make more cards, if you use the paper, it's very similar, which is what I'm going to show you for the next card. But let me show you what I did for this one. Again, here is what the card base looks like. So we're just going to cut it in half and use the back. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer for that. And we're going to put it at 4 1/4 so I know that it's halfway, and save this for another card. And then we've got a very vanilla card base, and we'll start with that. And again, just using multi-purpose liquid glue to glue it in place. And I've got a little bit showing on the top, and if that really bothers me, which it probably will, I'll just trim that off at the end and make it even. The glue actually started catching. It's warm today, so I think the glue started catching more quickly than typical. Usually I have a little more wiggle room with that. And then I have cut, because again, you know, presuming that you're out of the trees that come with the kit, plus you need a smaller circle anyway, I cut all these from the Stylish Shapes dies and from that same Country Woods Designer Series paper. So we are going to stamp the trees and the sentiment. So let me bring the trees in. And I'm bringing in Early Espresso. And ink it up. And the second time, and it looks exactly like what comes in the kit. I think I did one on the inside, yes. So we're going to do another one on the inside. And again on the envelope, and I use the envelopes that came with the kit, but if you don't have the designer series paper, you could also cut this apart and cut out your circles. I know you get at least 2 of the big ones and maybe one of the small ones from the front, and you could also cut a couple from the back. So that is an option if you don't have the paper. We'll put one more set of trees over here, and then the trees are done. And so this one, I use the Early Espresso for everything. So I'm going to bring in that You're the Best There Is stamp, which I have cleaned. Again, making sure there's good color and stamping. And then the sentiment, for the sentiment on the inside, I used Happy Birthday because again, I didn't want just Father's Day cards, and I do need male birthday cards, but you could use thank you. You know, I think it fits with a lot of things, like I said. And then we'll take that out of the way. And I think maybe before I adhere it, I'm going to get rid of that little, I'm going to make it even across the top. So I'll be right back. So I just took a little bit from the top just to make it so that now it's even. I like that a lot better. And we've got our inside stamped, so we're just assembling the front. So I just took the 2 sets of trees and put those on with my Stampin' Seal. Leaving just a little bit of a border on each side. And the same thing down at the bottom. And this I bumped up with dimensionals. And then we'll take the paper off and center that right here. And card number 2 is complete. Oh, and let me show you what I used. So for this, let me show you, I got the Happy Birthday sentiment from Unbounded Love, which has lots and lots of wonderful sentiments that you can use inside and outside. So I used the Happy Birthday from that because I felt like it wasn't too feminine. You know, I try to make cards look masculine as much as possible. And then the designer series paper, it's called Country Woods, and here are the designs. So again, this is the one, whoops, that we used for, this is the one that you could use once you finish with the card bases. As you can see, it's very close, and we're going to actually use it on a different card. This, it reminds me of that first card that we did, so you could use that too if you wanted to make more of those. And then on the other side, again, this is the one that I used for the circles today, and this is going to come in handy as well because it mimics one of the card bases from the kit. So lots of wonderful options, very versatile for masculine cards. And so that is card number 2. Now here for card number 3, this is the card similar to the card that comes with the kit. The only thing that I changed is there are white labels that come with the kit, and the outline here is basic beige. So I wanted it to match that, and I don't actually have basic beige cardstock yet. So I will show you what I did for that. I just used my blending brush and my beige ink, my basic beige ink, to mimic that because I felt like it went better. I wanted it to match. So, but other than that, it's the card that comes with the kit. But there are only 3 card bases that have that outline. So I did a couple of variations to mimic this card. Here's the first one. So again, using that designer series paper, this actually is the card base. This is the card base, but I have designer series paper for the card I'm going to make. And to make different leaves, I did the Misty Moonlight instead of the pool party, but you could do either. And for this, I used the Bough punch. So it was very simple. If you don't have a die cutting machine, this is a good option. And on this one, I also cut the die using the die from the Thanks and Beyond dies. I cut the die cut out of the designer series paper and then stamped on it. But so it's similar, but a little bit different. And I'm going to give you a slightly different variation for this last card. So I'm starting with a very vanilla card base. I would have used basic beige, but again, I don't have any cardstock yet in basic beige since it's brand new in the catalog. So vanilla works because you're not going to see the top of it. You're only going to see the inside. I don't think anyone will notice. And then I cut a piece of that designer series paper, that Country Woods designer series paper. You can see it's very, very similar, just a little bit darker. And I'm going to put that on same size as the card front, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to grab my liquid glue for that. And hopefully I won't have positioning problems this time. So I'm going to stand it up and get it so it's closer. So very good. And so that's our base. And like I said, I don't have a stamp to do the outline or the flowers there. So what I did instead was cut some from different die sets. So this one actually comes from Beauty of the Deep, but I thought that it was very similar. And there's actually another one that also would work that comes from the Cheerful Daisies dies, but for some reason I can't put my hands on my dies. They have disappeared. But there's a similar stamp, which if I remember, or die, I mean, if I remember, I'll show you in the catalog at the end, and you can use that one if you have it too. So that's the idea, is to use what you have. If you just buy the pack of designer series paper, you'll pretty much be good to go with probably what you have in your stash. And then these are from the Delicate Forest dies. So that's what I used because they were similar. They're a little bit bigger, but they're similar to the leaves. And then this kind of was the idea. I thought that those were pretty good options. I used, this is actually one of the die cuts from the kit, but you could also use the die from the Thanks and Beyond dies and cut it. And if you have basic beige, I would just cut it in that. If you don't, here's what you can do instead. So I've got my small blending brush and my basic beige ink. And I'm just gonna ink it up and color my die cut. And you can make it obviously as dark or light as you want. Flip it around, got a little something on there. Oh, maybe it's ink. That's all right. And I'm happy with that. And I'm just going to move this aside and then wipe my surface with my chamois. Get it ready for the next part. And now we're going to stamp on this. I think we'll turn it that way. And with that sentiment that also comes from the kit, with love and admiration to the most amazing person. And I'm going to bring in my early espresso, but the Misty Moonlight would definitely work if you're using blue Misty Moonlight leaves. It's up to you. And then on the inside, I think I did happy birthday on both of them again. Yes, I just did happy birthday. Again, that's always a good card. So again, with the early espresso. And then I would also stamp probably the happy birthday on the envelope. But that is all of our stamping. So to put it together, I'm going to take some glue dots. And these are actually smaller than the ones that come with the kit. They are from an old kit, but like I said, I've got lots of them around. And I just figured smaller would work better. So I'm gonna put some on the front, or one on the front. And then mimic that first card a little bit. And I did 3 instead of 2 for each side because the third one's already stamped there. And we like our 3s. And then we place these. Again, just giving a similar feel to the other card, but not obviously identical. And then we're going to put dimensionals on the back of this as well. And I like to overlap the die cuts to help them stay into place. And we'll take the paper off and then center it on the card. And that is it. So this one, obviously very close to this, but like I said, you could do variations in color. You can use a punch, you can use dies, whatever you have on hand, which makes it easy then to create as many as you would like. So that is card number 3. Bring those cards in one more time because of course, let's do it this way. I forgot to show you what I used to make them. And so the punch is the Bough punch. And it was nice. I had a scrap of Misty Moonlight that was just about this wide. So I opened up the punch and just slid it through and cut so I didn't have to waste any by cutting the other piece that's in there, the other flower or leaf. And then I used Misty Moonlight to do this one. And then I used Wild Wheat for this one because that's the color that's in the kit. Both of those colors are in the kit. Whoops, I got little bits from my punch. And the happy birthday stamp comes from Unbounded Love. There's the happy birthday. Lots of fantastic sentiments. And I like that you can pair them. Like if you use this on the front, then you can put may all your wishes come true, or vice versa. So I love that set. And then of course the wonderful designer series paper, which is called Country Woods. Bring that out again in case you haven't seen it. And there it is, all the different patterns. And then let me show you the other side. Here we are. I love this. I love that. All the different colors and the whole distress thing. I think these are going to be great for scrapbook pages too. So those are, I believe, oh yes, and then let me show you the dies. So I used the Delicate Forest dies, and those are right here. So I used for that one, I believe I used this one, because we're going to do another card, we're going to use this one, both of them, but this is the one that I used for that in Wild Wheat. And then for this, I used the Beauty of the Deep dies, and so I used this one. But I want to show you in the catalog too, there's actually the, like I said, the Cheerful Daisies dies would have worked too, but I can't find mine. They're in a pile somewhere, truth be told. But let me just find those and you'll see what I mean. All right, so here are the Cheerful Daisies dies, and this one right here I think would also work very well. It seems even more similar to this, but like I said, I could not put my hands on it when I needed it for today. So that's another option. And that's about it. Card number 4 coming up. Here is the last card. And again, I wanted to mimic what this card was, the second one in the kit. And I do not have mountain stamps that are current, but there is a set in the catalog that will work. So if you have it, you can do mountains with that. It's called In the Grove. And so you could do mountains behind. I just don't have it. So again, mine is a little bit different, but it's using things that I had on hand, and it kind of mimics the card so that you can make multiples. So for this one, I just took one of those die cuts. I made one from the Thanks and Beyond dies in basic white, and I cut it in half. And I did notice after the fact, this is actually a little bit longer than half. So all you have to do, we're going to use the other half today, but you can just cut it a little longer. So obviously that's an easy fix to that if you like that look better. And we'll keep this handy. We are starting with a basic white card base. And I do believe this is one of the card bases from the kit, but when you run out, the paper, the designer series paper, the Country Walk designer series paper has the same pattern, virtually the same pattern. So you could use that to make multiples. And we're going to put that on with some multi-purpose liquid glue. I then cut a piece of that Country Walk designer series paper. This is 3 3/4 inches by 5. And we're going to do some stamping on that with those great trees. And we're going to stamp them in 2 colors. We're going to stamp them first in Crumb Cake. A couple of times across the front of the card. Or I think I did basic beige first, but it doesn't matter. I think we'll do it this way. And then I'm going to clean my stamp, and we're going to, well, maybe before we do that, yeah, we're going to do some on the inside as well. So actually, take that back. We're going to do this on the inside as well. Now I'm going to clean the stamp, and we will switch to basic beige. And so hopefully you can see, because it is pretty light, but I got the idea again from the card in the kit because that was so light against the dark. that I decided to see what the beige would look like. So I just did them in between. And I think I'm going to even move them up a little bit. And so you go off of your paper. So it looks like a whole forest there. All right, sorry about that. My phone actually died, and so now hopefully if the stuff's a little off here, that's why, because I had to wait for my phone to charge. But we're gonna finish our stamping, this time with the Misty Moonlight, and we're going to do You're the Best There Is on the tag. And so like I said, this is just the other half of this one. If you want it longer like the picture, just cut one and cut it a little longer. There we go. And then, actually, you know what? That's a little crooked. Let's do this. I'm going to try one more, and I'm going to cut it first. And so to cut it, I may as well show you that anyway. I basically just lined it up so it looked like it was about even on each side. So that's the 1.5 inch mark, and it is here. So it's pretty even, pretty easy to do. And we'll just stamp another one of those. I've got one in reserve if I need it, but hopefully I won't. I think I need to stand up this time like I normally do so I can make sure that it is centered. Oh yeah, that looks better. Okay. And then we're going to stamp on the inside. I'm going to use the Happy Birthday again. And that again is from the Unbounded Love Stamp set. Oh, and that's right. I did not get to, we have to do a little bit more, one more stamping of the trees with the basic beige. Double check. Yes. So I'm going to grab those trees one more time and the basic beige, and then that will be the end of our stamping. And just kind of moved it over a little bit and then stamped. But I do like that. I like that look. And I hope you do too. So like I said, that's the end of our stamping, and now we're just going to finish assembly. So I'm going to grab my seal, and we're going to center this. And for the branches there, I used the delicate forest dies because I thought they worked the best. And that's what these are, because they just look like they would do well in that space. I did cut though these as an alternative so you could see. I'm going to use these because I liked them best, but I wanted to at least show the other options. And I cut this. This is from the Painted Lavender dies, and these are from the Thoughtful Wishes dies. So I think any of them will work, and you could use more than 2. Often I use 3. I might even, maybe we could throw one more in there. I may do that actually. I like that. And then for this, so all I did was, and they're 2 different sizes. I thought that the rounded one worked best on the top and this one on the side. And I'll show you what these look like. But like I said, I think I'm going to use the other one because these are bigger, which is fine. It just means they're going to be tucked under a little bit more and a little longer down here. I definitely was trying to find things, number one, that these mimic the ones in the kit the closest, but just some that didn't look as flowery and looked a little more masculine. I do like these though. I think I am going to go back to my original plan and just use those. But I do like this, so maybe we'll add that to this one. And so I ran them through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but before I did that, I put some adhesive sheets on the back. That's the word. Those are the words. So I'm just going to peel those off. Actually, I'm going to do this one first because it's a little easier to see where that's going to be placed. Just got to get my fingernail underneath the adhesive sheet. Come on. There it is. Peel that off. Best invention ever. And so for this, I'm just going to put it up at the top like that, okay? And let it fall naturally. And then the tag's gonna go about here. So I know I want this one to be about here. So I'm going to leave this here just to double check the placement for this branch. But I'm going to take the backing off and start it a little bit over here, which is nice because then you can just pick it up and peel the whole thing. You can also take your pick tool. And so this one I want to tuck underneath. And I want it to overlap that background paper a bit. And so then for this, and actually we'll include this, like I said, we'll throw this one on there. I think that looks going to look good too from the painted lavender dies. Did I say perennial lavender before? I don't remember, but let's double check that. Yeah, painted lavender is the correct name. And so then this one maybe will, whoops, let's get rid of that. It's not wanting to leave my hand. Maybe like that, and just give it a little bit more dimension. And then we're going to hide that tag, or we're going to hide this. I'm going to move it down just a little so that it's hidden underneath the tag. You always want to burnish so that adhesive catches and stays. And so for this, we're going to use our dimensionals again. And you want to use a lot because you don't want it to sag, especially in the middle. So if you're wondering why I use so many, that is why. I'll take the paper off, and then I'll put this up here and hide all our little edges. And that is it. That is card number 4. On the envelope, same thing, I would do the trees. Stamp the trees and do the same thing. Stamp them in the crumb cake and in the beige. And so let me show you what I used for this. The Thoughtful Wishes dies. Oh no, the Thoughtful Wishes dies, those were the other ones that I put to the side. Where did I put those? Here they are. So that was what I used to make this, was this die. And I looked at even like this, but it was too big. Some of these were just too big and I didn't want it to be flowers. So that was why I tried these. And then here are the, whoops, the die just fell out. The painted lavender dies. And this is the one that I used to make this that we added on the second card. And I thought this might work too, but it is also large. You probably would have to just cut it down if you used it, but it's an option if you have those dies. And then the one that I like the best is the Delicate Forest dies, and that's what I used. This one here and the longer one, curved one here. So I really like that whole set, but I thought those worked the best. So you can decide which you like better. And again, doing this, you can make unlimited cards because the cardstock, you can make probably 6 cards from each sheet of 12 by 12 paper. So even in one pack, that's 12 cards. So definitely good there. And then the Happy Birthday, in case you didn't see it before, that comes from the Unbounded Love Stamp set. Lots of fantastic sentiments, and so we use the Happy Birthday. And then I'll give you one more look at the Designer Series paper, which is Country Woods. And so this is the one, again, for the background, and this one for the second layer, and then the other sides. So really fantastic paper for these cards. And I'm sure Stampin' Up! Coordinated the kit with that paper on purpose. So that is it. Let me bring in the rest of the cards so that you can see them. So we'll move these here. This was card number 3 and the different options. And card number 2. And actually I only need to show one of those because they're both the same. And I'll show both of card number 1 because we had different sentiments and we used the die from the Thanks and Beyond dies. So I hope you like them. I hope you like my alternatives. I hope if you need a lot of masculine cards that this is helpful to you. And I appreciate you watching every month. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click on the bell to be notified when I post new videos. I do paper pumpkin alternatives just about every single month, but I also have other card videos, scrapbook pages, which actually I will be kind of ramping up now that Stampin' Up! Will be doing scrapbook related products more coming soon to a demonstrator near you. So I'm very excited about that. So I know I'm going to do some more scrapbooking videos because I've kind of those have kind of fallen by the wayside. So I'm going to amp that up a little bit. I have home decor items, tips and techniques, beginner videos. So hopefully there is something there that you will find useful. Give me some love in the comments. I appreciate that too. And I will see you again soon, everyone. Take care. Happy stamping.